Hey guys, I'm Nikki, and I'm here to talk to you about three of my favorite books that I read when I was your age. The first one is The Christmas Doll by Elvira Woodruff. The second one is Mandy by Julie Andrews Edwards. And then the third one is That Scatterbrain Bookie. Now, I have the trilogy version, but I'm going to be talking about the first in this series, which is That Scatterbrain Bookie. So, I'm going to talk about The Christmas Doll first. It is set a long time ago. I'm thinking it was set in the late 1800s. It's about two orphan sisters who live in a pretty awful and tough orphanage, but it's the only home they have, so they live there most of their lives. But then one winter season, a terrible fever sweeps over the orphanage, and the oldest of the two sisters, Lucy, decides that they have to escape, otherwise the fever is going to get them. So they escape, and then they have to live on the London streets by themselves. And what I really like about this book is it's very descriptive. You can almost see the winter scenes that the author talks about, and it's a really good and cozy story, even though it sounds like it would not be, but it ends up being a very happy and cozy story, which I love to read by the fire. Like, this would be the perfect book for it. So I definitely recommend this in the winter. The second book I'm going to talk about is Mandy. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen Mary Poppins, but the woman who plays Mary Poppins is Julie Andrews Edwards, and she actually is an author as well, and this was the book she wrote. This I really like because it's about an orphan named Mandy, and she's 10 years old. She lives in a pretty nice orphanage, actually, but she wants to find a place to call her own because she's never really had her own place. She's just kind of in between different orphanages, and she never really has a place that's hers. So she discovers this cottage in the forest of the current orphanage she's in, and it's abandoned, so she decides to make it her own house. And it's a really nice story because it's about, like, she gets to garden, and she sees animals, and she names the animals, and they're kind of like her neighbors. And it starts off as like a really cozy story, but then something happens, which I'm not going to tell you, but you're really worried something's going to happen to her. So this I really like. I'm going to read the back of it just so to get an idea of it. So Mandy, a 10-year-old orphan, dreams of a place to call her own. Escaping over the orphanage wall to explore the outside world, she discovers a tiny deserted cottage in the woods. All through the spring, summer, and fall, Mandy works to make it truly hers. Sometimes she borrows things she needs from the orphanage. Sometimes to guard her secret, she even lies. Then one stormy night at the cottage, Mandy gets sick, and no one knows how to find her except a special friend she didn't know she had. And this book has illustrations. Let's see if I can find one that I like. Well, this is one where it's almost like a chapter. Well, this is the season of the summer. It says, like, this is the story. It's in the summer, so you can see little bunnies and it's flowers, and it's really cute. So yeah, I really like this one. This one, I would recommend reading it in the summer, especially if you have your own cabin or if you go out to the woods or anything like that, because it would be perfect. And then the last book I'm going to talk about is my favorite, Best for Last, and the reason I like it is it's very funny. I mean, it's strange. Like, I didn't expect it to be funny because this book is set in the Great Depression, and in case you guys don't know what the Great Depression is, it was a time, like in the 1930s, like a long time ago, where lots of people were losing their jobs, and so people couldn't pay for food or their rent, so they had to find creative ways to basically survive. And the main character is called Brookie, that's her nickname. She grew up in the Great Depression, and despite all the hardships, she still finds fun adventures with her friends, and she's so funny and unique, and the way she describes certain events are just so hilarious. It's just great. It's one of my favorites. So I'm going to read you one of my favorite scenes. It's in That Scary Book. It's in the first one. There's the 3 books, but like I said, I'm just going to talk about the first one. So to give you a bit of context from this chapter, it's called Running from the Bailiff. Now, back in the 1930s, there was a bailiff, well, in the Great Depression, I guess. There was this guy who would come around, and if you hadn't paid your rent, they would basically take your house away, your eviction notice. Like, the paper's like, you don't own this house anymore, you need to get out. So, having nowhere else to go, they basically avoid it by hiding from the bailiff, so that's why it's called Hiding from the Bailiff. So I'm going to read that part. So that's how come I was only home at noon that day. The second I set foot on the back porch, the door flew open and Mom's hand shot out and yanked me inside. "What's the matter, Mom?" I asked anxiously as she locked the door behind me. "It's Ratman. He's across the road." The bailiff's dreaded name made my cold duck bumps pop out all over my skinny body. He had been hounding us unmercifully ever since we'd come to Birchcliff. 3 times in the past year he had tried to serve us with eviction papers, and 3 times he had foiled us by pretending we were out. Oh, how I hated that man. I used to pray he would drop dead on the sidewalk so he wouldn't have to worry any more about being put out on the street with our furniture. Of course, it never occurred to me that he was only doing his job, and that if he didn't do it, somebody else would. Running to the front door, I peered fearfully through the fray-stretched curtains. He was crossing the street and was near enough for me to see his beady little eyes and rat-like nose. "Here he comes, Mom." Quick as a wink, she herded Jakey and me, with Billy in her arms, up to the stairs to her bedroom. "Let's pretend we're playing hide-and-seek and Mr. Ratman is it," she said, trying to make a game of it for Jakey's sake. But even the little 3-year-old wasn't fooled. He wriggled under the bed with me, his eyes as big as black as a gate's. I held him tight and felt his heart pounding wildly like my own. Billy started to fuss. Then he gave a loud suck as Mum stuffed the pacifier in. She jiggled him on the edge of the bed. I could see the curves of her calves under the skimpy counterpane. She had nice legs, my mom. The first loud bang on the door scared the daylights out of us. Jakey's little body jerked convulsively, and his eyes nearly popped out of his head. I squeezed him tight, my heart flopping painfully. Billy tried to cry, and Mum jiggled faster, making the bed swing squeak overhead. The hammering went on and on. Bang, bang, bang! Thump, thump, thump! Then a loud crack that sounded like a kick. Boy, he was stubborn, that Ratman. I thought he'd never give up, but at long last we heard his footsteps creaking down the wooden steps. "Be still a little longer," Mum said quietly. "He might be back." We stayed stock still. Jakey was as good as gold and didn't make a peep. At last Mom stood up and the bed springs rose above us. "He's gone," she said, loosening her hold on the pacifier. So this is one of my favorite scenes because it's really funny how she can describe someone like having a rat face and things like that. It's hilarious. There's a lot of really funny stories, but then there's also like difficult times that she went through because it's the Great Depression. So that's why it's my favorite. And all 3 of these are from different time periods and from different locations. This one is set in the States, I'm pretty sure. This one in London a long time ago, and then this one, like I said, was from Canada. So those are the 3 books that I wanted to talk to you guys about. And I have 3 more books on the bookmark I'm going to give you, which gives you 3 other books which are like these books. So thank you for listening.